At my son's birthday party, my husband's phone lit up, a text from my sister, "Can't wait to see you tonight." My hand shook as my mother said, "Ignore it, don't ruin the party." I took a deep breath and smiled, "I won't." But they will. When I hooked his phone to the TV, the entire room went silent. I'm 38 years old. I've been married to my husband Mark, 40 male, for 15 years. We live in San Diego, California, and have 2 kids, Jake, who just turned 10, and Lily, 7. I work part-time as a teacher, and Mark works in finance. We've had our ups and downs like any couple, but nothing ever prepared me for this. It started on what was supposed to be a happy day, Jake's 10th birthday. We'd planned a party at our house. Backyard full of balloons, kids laughing, hot dogs on the grill. Family and friends everywhere. I was running around making sure everything was in place. My mom was helping with snacks, and my dad was setting up chairs. Mark was being social. Grabbing drinks for people, telling dumb dad jokes. He was being normal. My younger sister, Rachel, 35F, was there too. She brought Jake a new Nintendo Switch and was sitting on the patio, laughing with Mark at one point. That part stuck with me later. Anyway, at one point I was in the kitchen icing Jake's cake. That's when Mark's phone lit up on the counter. It was charging next to the toaster. I didn't mean to snoop, I really didn't. But the screen lit up, and I glanced out of habit. It was just one message. From Rachel. It said, "Can't wait to see you tonight." I froze. My fingers were still gripping the icing spatula, but I couldn't move. I reread the preview again, and again. My first thought was no. My second was, what the hell is this? My mom must have noticed something was wrong because she walked over, glanced at the phone, and went completely quiet. She whispered, "Ignore it. Don't ruin the party." I looked at her like she had just asked me to jump off the roof. "Ignore it?" I whispered back. My son's birthday party was in full swing, and here I was staring at a text from my husband to my sister that could not be more suspicious. But I took a breath. A very long breath. My hands were shaking. My ears were hot. I was dizzy, nauseous. But I smiled. "I won't," I told her. "But they will." I grabbed Mark's phone off the counter and walked calmly into the living room. Everyone was outside, still eating and talking. No one noticed me right away. I turned on the TV and connected Mark's phone via Bluetooth. We'd done this before to show videos or photos on holidays. I opened his text messages. I searched for Rachel. It took 2 seconds. Their entire conversation popped up. Hundreds of messages. Flirty texts. Nicknames. Some very explicit. Talking about times they'd met up, hotels, weekends when I thought Rachel was helping a friend move, or when Mark had conference calls. I stood there staring at it, heart pounding like a drum. I wanted to scream. Cry. Smash something. But I didn't. Instead, I mirrored the phone to the screen and just let it roll. People started walking in, bringing their drinks, looking confused. One of Mark's coworkers said, "Hey, is that?" Then silence. And then it hit. Rachel walked in carrying a paper plate with cake on it. She saw the screen and froze. Mark walked in behind her, laughing at something someone said. Then he looked at the screen. I watched his face melt. The room went completely still. My dad, standing near the hallway, asked quietly, "Is this real?" No one moved. No one breathed. Rachel dropped the plate. Cake hit the floor. Mark turned to me, whispering, "Anna. Let's talk in private." I laughed. Private? Like the hotel room last weekend? Rachel looked like she wanted to disappear. "I didn't mean for this to happen," she said. Her voice shook. I said, "You didn't mean to sleep with my husband?" She took a step forward. I held up my hand. "Don't. Just don't." My mom sat down, speechless. My dad didn't say a word. He just walked out the front door. Lily and Jake came running in, asking what was going on. I told my friend Lisa to please take them upstairs. Lisa didn't ask anything. She saw the screen, saw my face, and nodded. Rachel tried again. Anna, I was lonely. You don't understand, I cut her off. Don't you dare. Don't you dare try to spin this. Mark stood there like a ghost. I made a mistake. A mistake is forgetting to take the trash out, I said. This was a choice. Over and over again. Everyone at the party was watching. Some started to leave quietly. Some stayed, just staring. I turned the TV off. The silence afterward was heavy. Like a bomb had gone off and we were all standing in the rubble. I told Mark to get out. Not tomorrow. Not later. Now. I told Rachel she was no longer welcome in my home. Mark tried to talk again, but I was done. I went to the kitchen and started packing up the rest of the cake. Rachel stood in the corner, crying. My mom came in, tried to hug me. I didn't move. That night, Mark slept in his car. Rachel went home. Alone. And I stood in my son's empty birthday party, holding pieces of leftover cake, wondering when my life had started to unravel. I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do next. I haven't told the kids yet. I don't know how. But I knew one thing for sure, this wasn't going to be the end of my story. It was just the start. The day after the party was quiet. Too quiet. Mark didn't come back home. I didn't care where he was. I hoped it was far away. The kids knew something was wrong, but I wasn't ready to tell them the truth. Jake kept asking why Daddy wasn't home and why Aunt Rachel wasn't answering his calls. I told him Dad was taking a break and Aunt Rachel was busy. The second day was worse. People had started talking. My neighbor, Sandra, stopped by just to drop off a casserole, but the way she stared at me said it all. Word was spreading. My husband. My sister. Caught at a birthday party. But that wasn't even the worst part. I was at work, grading papers in the teacher's lounge during lunch. Just trying to survive the day without crying. That's when someone knocked on the window behind me. It was Rachel. I stared at her through the glass, stunned. She didn't look ashamed. She didn't look sad. She looked determined. I walked outside because I didn't want to cause a scene. What are you doing here? I asked. My voice was dead cold. Rachel looked nervous but didn't back down. I need to talk to you. I crossed my arms. There's nothing left to say. Then she dropped it. I'm pregnant. The ground moved. I stood still. My mouth opened but no sound came out. She said it again. Slower this time. I'm pregnant. And it's Mark's. I felt my knees give out and grabbed onto the railing. You're lying, I said. You're just saying this to hurt me. I wish I was, she whispered. I couldn't breathe. I had to sit down on the bench outside the building. She sat next to me. I wanted to push her off. But I couldn't move. I didn't plan this, she said. I found out 2 weeks ago. I thought I'd wait. But then the party, and now, she trailed off like that explained anything. I looked her dead in the eye and asked, is he staying with you? She shook her head. He said he needed time. He's not with me. Do my parents know? No. Not yet. Then you better tell them fast. Because I'm done covering up your mess. I stood up and walked away. Left her there. Sitting on a bench with her hands over her stomach like that changed anything. I cried in my car for an hour before I could drive home. That night, I told my parents everything. They were quiet at first. Then my dad stood up and walked out the back door again. He always did that when he was about to break something. My mom just sat there. She didn't cry. She didn't speak. She just stared at the wall. She's pregnant, I said again. With his child. Your daughter and your son-in-law. Then she whispered the one thing that broke me all over again. I always knew something wasn't right between them. I blinked. What? She looked at me, tears welling up. The way they looked at each other. I noticed. Years ago. But I told myself I was imagining it. Years. They had probably been at this for years. And no one said anything. 2 weeks later, I got a lawyer. I wanted a clean divorce. No games. No delays. Just full custody of the kids and the house. He could take his golf clubs and go live in a ditch for all I cared. The lawyer asked me for access to Mark's financial records and phone history. We went over everything. Bank accounts. Statements. Emails. That's when things took a turn. My lawyer, Ken, called me 2 days later. You need to come in. I thought maybe Mark had drained our savings or filed something behind my back. No. It was worse. Ken slid a file across the table. There were payments. Several of them. Monthly. To a woman named Candace. Who's Candace? She's not your sister. And she's not his coworker. He pulled out another paper. It was a rental agreement. A second apartment. Mark had another apartment downtown. Fully furnished. Bills under his name. Was he cheating on Rachel too? I asked, my head spinning. Ken looked at me like he didn't want to say it. It looks like this has been going on for at least a year. I felt my stomach twist. This wasn't just betrayal anymore. This was a full-on double life. He's been paying her rent, Ken added. Sending her money. The same days he told you he was working late. I laughed. Not because it was funny. But because it was too much. Too twisted. My husband was cheating on me with my sister, and cheating on my sister with a whole other woman. I wanted to burn the whole house down. I didn't answer. But he kept calling. Eventually, I picked up. He sounded broken. Anna. Please. I'm sorry. I didn't say anything. He kept talking. I don't even know how it got this far. I made mistakes. But Rachel, she means nothing to me. Neither does Candace. None of them meant anything. I asked one thing, why? He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, because I'm a coward. I almost believed him. Almost. But the truth was simpler. He did it because he could. Because he thought he could get away with it. Because I trusted him. And he broke that trust into 1,000 pieces. I hung up. And I haven't answered since. A week after I found out Rachel was pregnant, she sent me a picture of an ultrasound. No words. Just the image. And below it, a line of text, "You'll be an aunt, whether you like it or not." I stared at it for a long time. Not because I cared about the baby, but because something felt off. Maybe it was the date. Maybe it was just my gut. I forwarded it to Ken, my lawyer. He's been the only person in this whole thing I can trust to keep his head on straight. 3 hours later, he called me. Anna, he said. That ultrasound. It's from a clinic in Los Angeles. Not San Diego. Okay? It's not Rachel's name on the file number. It's Candace's. My whole body went cold. Wait, Candace is pregnant? Looks like it. Rachel either stole her picture, or Candace and Rachel are somehow working together. I couldn't wrap my head around it. You think Rachel knew about Candace? I think it's possible she found out, and is using the image to manipulate you, or Mark. The idea that Rachel would fake a pregnancy, using the real ultrasound of the other woman my husband cheated with, was beyond anything I could have imagined. But suddenly, a lot of things made sense. Rachel showing up at my job, acting like she was calm instead of desperate. Mark saying he wasn't with her. Her refusing to tell my parents herself. She was lying. Rachel wasn't pregnant. She just wanted to stay in control of something, anything. And she thought pretending to carry Mark's child would keep him close. I sent the ultrasound to Mark with no message. Just the pic. 10 minutes later, he replied, "I already know. She's lying. She wanted me to leave Candace. I told her I was done with both of them." That told me 3 things. He knew Rachel lied. He knew Candace was pregnant. He was still in contact with both of them. After all the crying, the apologies, the "I made a mistake" phone call, he was still playing them. And somehow thought telling me about it would earn him points. I texted back, "Don't contact me again unless it's about the kids or court." He didn't reply. A few days later, my mom called me. I wasn't going to answer, but I did. I guess I was still hoping she'd say what I needed to hear. Instead, she said, "I visited Rachel. She's not doing well." I stayed quiet. She continued, "She told me she faked the pregnancy. She admitted it." I sat down. Then she said the part I'll never forget, she only did it because she was afraid of losing everyone. "She did lose everyone," I said. "But she's still your sister," Mom said softly. That's when I lost it. She slept with my husband. Lied to my face. Used a fake ultrasound. Do you get that? Mom went quiet. I've already lost a marriage, my peace, my dignity, and now I'm supposed to hold her hand while she cries? I just thought maybe you could find a way back to each other, someday. I didn't yell. I didn't scream. I just said, "Then you go ahead and be there for her. But don't expect me to." And I hung up. 3 weeks later, I was cleaning up Lily's art supplies when someone knocked at the door. I opened it. It was Candace, holding a baby carrier. I didn't know what to say. She looked exhausted. Her hair was in a bun. She had a hospital bracelet on her wrist. Inside the carrier, a baby. "I didn't know where else to go," she said. I stood frozen. She started crying. "Mark's gone. He blocked me. After everything." I blinked. "Why would you come here?" "Because I thought, maybe you deserve to know everything." And then she told me. Candace thought she was Mark's only affair. He told her he was divorcing me because I was cold, and we hadn't been intimate in over a year. He painted himself as the victim. The lonely, neglected husband. She didn't know about Rachel until the night of the party, when he never showed up like he promised. When she saw the texts and screenshots posted by one of the party guests online, yeah, someone recorded the whole scene and put it in a private Facebook group, she realized everything. She left him. Had the baby. And now, she was here. I didn't let her in. But I didn't slam the door either. I looked at the baby. He looked just like Jake did as a newborn. Same nose. Same mouth. "You need to go," I said, my voice shaking. "I understand," she said quietly. "But I wanted to tell you. Before he spins it again." I watched her walk away, baby carrier in hand. I didn't cry this time. I just stood there. Frozen. Everything was so tangled now, I didn't know which way was up. Mark had destroyed not just 1, not 2, but 3 lives. And I had a feeling this story wasn't over yet. 3 weeks after Candace showed up at my door, I got an invitation in the mail. Not a text. Not an email. A printed invitation. It was from Rachel. She was throwing a baby shower for her new beginning. There was no baby. But she was still pretending there was. And worse, she had invited our mother. When I called Mom, she didn't deny it. She needs help, Anna. She needs therapy. Not streamers and punch, I said. She said she wanted to make amends. She said she'd come clean. That's when the idea hit me. Not out of spite. But clarity. If Rachel wanted public, fine. Let's go public. I showed up at the shower. People were surprised to see me. I hadn't seen most of these folks since the birthday disaster. Some gave me awkward smiles. Some looked away. Rachel stood by a table full of pink and white cupcakes. Her dress was flowy, belly padded to make it seem like she was still pregnant. She froze when she saw me. Anna, she said. Go ahead, I told her. Tell everyone what you told Mom. That you faked it. That there's no baby. That you used Candace's ultrasound. Her face crumbled. People were watching now. Or do you want me to tell them? She started crying. You said you wanted to make amends. This is your shot. Rachel looked around at the stunned faces, our aunt, old neighbors, family friends. Then she sat down. And she said it. I'm not pregnant. I lied. I was afraid. I didn't want to lose everyone. You could hear a pin drop. My uncle stood up and said, This is sick, Rachel. Just sick. Another cousin whispered, What the hell is wrong with her? Rachel broke down completely. But I didn't move. Mark wasn't there. But someone else was. Candace. She'd shown up. With the real baby. She walked in, took one look at Rachel bawling into a cupcake, and said, This is disgusting. Rachel sobbed, I didn't mean for this to go so far. Candace, but you let it. And now everyone sees what you really are. 3 days later, Mark called. Said he wanted to talk in person. Said he was ready. I agreed. Candace showed up first. Then Rachel. Then Mark. We sat in my backyard. No yelling. No chaos. Just 4 broken people on mismatched lawn chairs. I looked at Mark. What do you want? He said, I want to be a father. To Jake. To Lily. And to him, he nodded at Candace's baby. Rachel turned red. You promised, Mark cut her off. I didn't promise anything. You lied. You played a game. She stood up. You used me. You used me. He nodded. I did. And I used her, he looked at Candace. And I hurt her, he looked at me. I've been a coward. I lied. I cheated. I tried to keep everything going without consequences. He looked at his feet. And now, I've lost everything. Rachel stormed out without another word. Candace looked at me and said, I'll raise him without you if I have to. Mark nodded. I'll pay support. But if you let me, I want to be in his life. She left too. It was just me and him. I don't want to fix us, I said. Don't think that's what this is. He looked down. I know. You broke something I didn't know could break, I said. And I'll never be that woman again. He nodded. I'm sorry. I know, I said. But that doesn't fix it. He left. Rachel moved out of state. I haven't heard from her since the baby shower fallout. My mother still tries to keep the peace, but we don't talk much anymore. My dad quietly told me he was proud of how I handled it. That meant more than anything. Mark gets the kids every other weekend. He tries hard. Sometimes too hard. I can see the guilt in his face when Jake asks innocent questions like, why don't you live with us anymore? Candace? She's doing okay. She got a new job, moved into a better apartment. She sends me pictures of her baby. I think she's trying to build something normal. As for me, I stayed in the house. I repainted every room. I threw out the couch we used to cuddle on. I replaced every photo that had the four of us smiling. Because that life is over. People ask how I'm doing. I say fine. Sometimes I even believe it. But here's what I know now: betrayal doesn't just come from strangers. It cuts deepest when it comes from the ones who swore they'd protect you. I learned I can survive what I thought would destroy me. And sometimes the worst thing someone can do to you is set you free. I don't know what the future holds. But it's mine again. And for now, that's enough.